honestly, I know it's intimidating. Really, you just need to have belief in yourself and be willing to put in the hard work. If you really want to be good at something, if you really want to be successful, you can't do it halfway. You really have to put it all out there, and you have to really believe in yourself. And you have to make sacrifices.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we are so pleased to have Kari Janes with us. Kari, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely, Kari. Well, thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. Like Richard said, we appreciate that. Well, a little bit of your background to get started. Can you tell us what your initial path was and then what you've transitioned to?
Certainly. I did have a little bit of variety in my past career, a lot of corporate. Started off in the early days in pharmaceutical sales with Pfizer, then moved on as a broker with Merrill Lynch in Boston. So I have some finance background. I actually spent a little bit of time in the software world selling payroll HR systems to companies. Then took some time and did some side ventures of renovating and kind of flipping houses while I was raising my girls, and went back into the corporate world and back in kind of healthcare. So I did some work with a radiology company, and then I was working with some neurointerventional radiologists, doing a variety of things in that field before venturing into owning a business.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a little bit more about the business you currently own?
Certainly. It's Right at Home offers in-home care and assistance for anyone 18 years and older. Primarily, our clients are on the elderly side. Right at Home itself has been around for over 25 years. It started off in Omaha, Nebraska by a hospital administrator who often found that many people were being discharged from the hospital and then returning to the hospital too soon because they had no one to help them recover at home. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Medicare actually dings hospitals if they do have those readmittance within 90 days. So he did a little homework, started the process, and obviously with our aging population, it became a much more viable and pertinent situation for everyone. So I purchased the area here in West Palm Beach, Florida, back in beginning of February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. It was not good timing. And have been working very hard since then, providing care and assistance for where anyone calls home. So whether it's their own home, we've provided services for clients that are in rehab facilities, assisted living facilities, nursing homes, memory care, wherever that person may call home.
That's great. It seems like you'd be in a perfect location for that as well. Not only the aging demographics, but also being in a place that attracts people to retirement also, being in West Palm Beach, Florida, and in general. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's definitely a good aging population around here. The other thing that's important too in this process is knowing that you're in an area where you can actually attract caregivers too. Mm-hmm. I know there are certain parts of the country, you could be up like in the Colorado mountains, and there might be people who need help, but trying to find caregivers up there is, for example, is very challenging. So it's a interesting dynamic to be able to consider the prospect of both sides of the equation.
Mm-hmm. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So Kari, as you look back over your, like you said, you've done a couple different things in your past, so that's cool. But is somewhere along the way, is there a funny story that made you scratch your head to say this is not where I want to be forever? Maybe it was, I don't know, stockbroker days or something like that. Anything humorous you can share?
Well, I've had a lot of those moments. I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, back in the past, I remember. Actually, it was. You mentioned the stockbroker. Some careers are great, but they're just not always meant for you. And for me, I kind of jumped into that for personal reasons, things going on in my family at the time. I was never really big into finance. I worked hard to pass my Series 7, 63, 65, all that. Did all that. And then, I'm a person that likes to be out and about and moving. And there's a lot of that business is about sitting there cold calling. At least it was at the time, which is, not something I enjoy doing. So, I plugged along and I got some great clients, but it was kind of more of a, determination to make it happen, to the point where I would come home, 8, 9 o'clock at night, not happy, very tired. And my husband looked at me and said, "Why are you doing this?" And that was the point where it was, I realized I didn't have to keep doing it just because I wasn't a quitter, but to realize that this was my life, and I should be pursuing something that fit my personality a lot more. But a funny story in this current business, as you can imagine, we have a lot of interesting characters that we deal with, both on the caregiver side and the client side. But I remember I went to go start helping doing an assessment for one client. He was an elderly gentleman, lived on his own. He gave up driving, so he kind of just needed someone to be able to drive him to doctor's appointments or to do some errands and so forth. And beginning of my business, so I was going out to do the assessment, and I was on my way, and I called to let him know that I was on my way. And he says, "Oh, would you mind stopping by McDonald's and pick me up some breakfast?" I'm like, okay, what would you like? So I kind of became a little bit of a DoorDash on top of everything else. And he's like, you can get something for yourself. I'm like, I'm okay, but sure, just give me your order and I'll pick it up. But you run into a lot of unique situations because you end up diving into a lot of family dynamic, and a lot of people are really kind of stuck at home and alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I could go. I've had so many stories that I come home to my family and say, "You won't believe this one." So,
well, your firm certainly is a full service firm, so there you go.
That's right.
Yeah. And we do everything from providing transportation, companionship. Right now we have a client that literally is, I think she's, I don't know, 101 or 104. And she's cognitively all there. Physically, she's in good shape, but she lives with her daughter, and the daughter needs a break. And so our carrier goes in there and plays games with her, plays cards, just kind of keeps her company for a while. Mm-hmm. But then we do have everything from 24/7. We assist with hospice,
mm-hmm.
it does everything. So.
Yeah. Well, even in that scenario, her daughter could be in her early 80s. I mean, that's a
yeah, exactly. So, and it's hard. I'm running into a lot of that with, the adult children are busy. They live out of state. They're working hard. Their parents all of a sudden decline, or they don't realize they're declining until they've really declined. The adult parents struggle giving up their freedom, giving up their car keys. They don't want to move out of their home. And it's stressful, and there's no easy solution. And I know that any solution you look at is a stretch economically. Mm-hmm. So that's always a consideration. But there's people say to me, what do I do? And it's everyone's different. Everyone's going to have different needs. I had a grandmother that lived to be 104 and a half, and it was a fortunate situation that she could always stay in her own home, which is what she really wanted to do. And she had a caregiver, the last couple number of years during the day. And then eventually towards the end, we got her, when she started to fall a couple times, we got her 24/7 care. But not everyone's fortunate enough to have that ability.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. Well, Kari, what was a deciding factor right before you started Right at Home that made you transition into that path?
It was a kind of a lot of factors. I had, as I mentioned, my last job working prior to owning this company, I was working with interventional radiologists and neurointerventional radiologists, which I actually really enjoyed. it's fascinating what they do. I was setting up vascular screening programs. I was actually educating referring physicians about what they did, because a lot of them don't even realize all the types of different procedures they do. I was educating the public on things like fibroid embolization as an alternative to hysterectomies. But again, it's, you're as much as fun as it was, you still have that one role that you're put in, and there's only so much control you have over the organization. Someone else has that leverage. But part of it too was my husband and I had been living out in Northern California, he'd been in the high tech world. And my youngest daughter graduated, and most of our family and friends have been on the East Coast. And we just kind of looked at our lifestyle, actually asked our daughters if they thought they'd be back in Northern California. They pretty much said no. So we decided that this was a great opportunity to move and make some changes in our life. And my husband and I were both pretty confident in our abilities based on our experience over the years. And so we both did some homework, and we both found our avenues. Actually, he was the one who was talking to someone about the in-home care experience, and he brought it to my attention, and he said, this is something I think you'd be really good at. And from there, I looked into it, and I said, wow, so it wasn't until like everything kind of came to fruition, and it was an opportunity for changes on multiple levels, that I considered, owning my own business. Sometimes I think we all just get up in the morning and get through the day, and you're raising your kids, you're paying your bills, you're doing your job, you're doing the job to the best of your ability, and it usually sometimes takes something to make you step back and reevaluate and see if you're willing to take that new risk. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, awesome. So Kari, as you got started in this path, in this business, initially, were there some obstacles you encountered along the way?
There's always obstacles in this business. It's very rewarding, but it's also very challenging. This is not an easy business just to jump into. In the state, every state is different, just so you know, but in the state of Florida, there are a lot of requirements in order to even get your license. And in order to get your personal care license with what we call ACA, which is Agency of Healthcare Administration, you technically have to have your entire business up and running. Since I had the medical background, I was considered an administrator. But before you can even apply for your personal care license in the state of Florida, you have to have two full-time administrators on staff, an RN on staff, a full office, and everything set up in your office. So like you're running your business. So you have your emergency plans, you have your company policies and procedures, everything has to be done. And then you apply for your license, and then they, take their time to approve it. And once you even get that done, then there's a surveyor who comes out to your office and does a survey of your office to make sure that, everything is, and which is all good. And I applaud that. Tough part is as a new owner, you're paying for rent and software licenses and employees, all this while you're trying to get up and running. So there's a lot of money going out while you're even getting yourself ready to apply and then waiting for the response.
And you're doing all that before you really have any revenue coming in?
Oh yeah, there's no revenue coming in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's holy moly.
Sure, it seems even longer waiting.
Yeah.
So then you, once you get your license, then you really start, marketing yourself, which, as we all know, in any sales marketing position, that it's not overnight. So it starts happening, and you have to do it via the internet. You have to do it with local organizations. And then, obviously, eventually it slowly builds on itself. But I had to apply. I applied to have a contract with the VA, which they use a third party here in Florida called Optum. So I work with them. I work with Humana. I accept long-term care insurances. So making sure that I was, certified with them, and then also workers' compensation companies. So,
Yeah. Well, on that track, other than obviously getting your license, which would have been perceived and felt like a first victory, what was one of the first victories in your new business that really cemented the idea that you made the right choice and you can see how it unfolds for you?
Well, there's a formula for break even based on all your costs versus number of billable hours and revenue. And I think when I finally hit that break even and realized that, I'm here, I'm no longer losing money. There's that growth potential. That was a big victory. And I've for my office staff, I've hired some good people along the way for whatever reason, different circumstances. There's generally turnover, which is not uncommon in the first couple of years. But it's also really good. I'm in the process of really trying to build a good team here that we're all invested. And once you see that going along and you build that good team, that makes a big difference. So having the right team with the right culture, and finally, having the clients believing that you're doing a good job and writing a good review about you. I think all those things combined help make you realize, okay, I can do this. Until you get the no call, no show.
Is your business model you're in, does it have a mix of one-on-one interaction with clients and then also, like you mentioned, Humana earlier, like larger clientele? Is it a balance between those two, or?
We're probably primarily private pay. We do have a good number of VA clients, but I would say we're still primarily private pay. A lot of people call asking if Medicare covers our services. Unfortunately, it does not. I try to explain to people what Medicare does cover, and they think of it like a physician when they write you a prescription. For Medicare, a physician has to write the order, and that's for things like skilled nursing. So if a skilled nurse is coming in to tend to a wound, or if it's physical therapy or occupational therapy, but it does not cover general in-home care and assistance. So just one of those.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge field. I mean, and there's so much need for this. So, it sounds like you found a really a nice spot. And again, like you said, it's a great location. People like to be in Florida. So, great location. So
it's booming down here. I know that real estate's been going up everywhere, but down here in this part of Florida, it's just been the past couple of years has gone crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kari, where are you today in your journey? You said you're established it, you're marketing, you're building it. Where do you see yourself, and what's your goal with Right at Home?
That is a really good question. And to be honest with you, I'm in the process of actually hiring someone else for the office. I'm trying to move myself a little bit further away from the day-to-day admin so that I can focus on more of my long-term goals. And I have to do a little bit more homework before I can say, yes, this is it. But some of the things I'm looking at this time for future growth is I'm considering going for my skilled license with the Agency of Healthcare Administration here in Florida, which means I could provide, RN services. The other thing I'm considering is that a lot of the area right around me is currently owned by other Right at Home owners. So if I want to do any kind of expansion, I would have to go to the next county up, which I'm considering doing. And, it's actually, you have to reapply a license for a whole new county here in the state of Florida. So it's a process. It takes time. And then, obviously setting up an office there and finding someone to work the office, which means onboarding caregivers and scheduling the caregivers up at that office. So those are two areas that I'm currently considering.
Right. And it's always a balancing act in the beginning, isn't it? I mean, because when you start a business, you you want to be involved in all aspects. You understand all aspects of your business, which is needed. But then at some point, like you said, you can spend too much time working in your business and not on your business as far as growing it and stuff. Like I said, so it's always that balancing act to step back and be able to do the visionary long-term planning growth of it versus the day-to-day operations just to keep it running.
Absolutely. It's I think we all get caught up too much in the day-to-day. And I even have to stop and remind myself that this, I can't do this if I want to go to the next level, that I need to hire good staff and be able to hand certain tasks off, which is my goal. I'm actually in the process of interviewing right now for my next office employee. And I'm considering doing some outsourcing, for example, like with billing. So those are little things I'm all weighing as I hire the right person, or as I, interview someone for the outsourcing. I'm adding all that to my menu on a day-to-day basis so that I can get to my next goal. Yeah, it's all a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Kari, along your path now and what you're doing, obviously you're providing support and enriching the lives of your clients. Is there anything else you could share that you perhaps do that is a way to give back?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit on every side, and I would like to do more of it as I do step away more from my day-to-day tasks. Just side note, most jobs say, oh yeah, I work more than the 9 to 5, but in our industry, we're kind of a 24/7. And even when it's not urgent, we tend to have clients and caregivers call us at all hours. So balancing all that. But in terms of, I'm sorry, you just asked me about
just anything you do to give back. I mean, again, certainly again, I know certainly, it sounds like what I'm reading out of you, is that you're making a concerted effort to grow your team, your staff. You're helping them grow in their careers. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I tend to have, I definitely try to help my staff grow. I have currently, well over 100 caregivers, and I really try to provide them guidance. I try to, understand their situations, work, there's little things. If they come to me, I don't ever stick my nose where it doesn't belong. But I try to be very understanding, because people do have a lot going on in their personal lives. And I try to be here to talk to them or provide advice when they come to me. Same thing with my clients and the family members of my clients. It's a very overwhelming process when all of a sudden, say, your mom or your dad is declining physically, mentally. It's scary. There doesn't seem to be any easy answer, and there isn't. There's organizations and support groups for things like Alzheimer's, but even our physicians nowadays, with the way that they run their offices, they're trying to make a living, and their reimbursement from Medicare or insurance companies is at a certain point. So they just don't have the time to provide the guidance to many family members like that we would think would be necessary in our world. So a lot of them do come to me. I got an email last night from family members and they're like, you right at home is amazing, but we're thinking long term, and I don't know if we can afford the 24/7 care. And so you try to provide a lot of different options for people. I had one daughter call me, and her mom was in the rehab, and she was concerned about how she thought her mom was being medicated incorrectly. And so I was trying to provide advice about talking to the prescribing physician and the director of nursing. You're just trying to be there for them at a time when they feel like their world is spinning out of control. And I think just being able to be that listening ear and provide some basic advice is, at this point, the most I could do for them, and they're appreciative.
Yeah.
Well, Kari, what's something you've recently implemented in your business that's helping you achieve your goals? And you talked about a little bit offloading some of the day-to-day work and outsourcing different things. Is that kind of what you're focused on to help grow? Is there other avenues or things you're looking at?
I'm always looking at new avenues. So especially for where you want to keep and retain great caregivers. I mean, they're so essential to your business. So we recently put in a new system where it's called Tap Check, where they can actually tap into earned monies, so to speak, prior to payday. And they can do it via an app or an actual card. But that leverage, for example, rent is due and payday isn't until the end of the week. This way they can actually get that money before payday. The other thing we're doing is we're constantly hiring. And so, it's a lot of work for our HR department. So we just started with another system called Pre-Intent, which helps not only search for the appropriate staff caregivers, but a lot of times it's a system that is automated and it does lots of reminders via text and phone calls to remind them to come in for their interview or their onboarding or whatever. It's easy, you put something on your phone, but if you don't look at it, it's easy to let it go like I did. So, those are all the systems I'm always looking at, trying to make the business run more efficiently. I'm working with another company. They have a system called Meet Larry that is a sensor company for those individuals who only have, caregivers say come a few times a week, but they still live on their own and their loved ones live far away. This helps track their movements throughout the day. So, and it's kind of like an IA, artificial intelligence, where it will, kind of develop patterns. So if things change, it'll alert us.
Right.
We have, other types of programs like that, where I'm always trying to improve it for our clients and our staff and make things run more efficiently for everybody.
Very nice. Yeah, that kind of sensor technology, it's amazing what you can do for that, in terms of trying to find out if their pattern has changed or find out if they haven't been mobile within a certain period of time. That tells you something. So yeah, good. Okay. So Kari, as you look back at your career, is there some advice you might share with somebody who's considering making a path change?
Yeah, I think honestly, I know it's intimidating. I know I have two daughters that are young adults, and I know their need to literally go out and work for other companies to get that experience, and I get that. But really, you just need to have belief in yourself. I mean, I am learning things now at this point in my life that I never anticipated learning. But it's good. Just you never doubt yourself. You have to really believe in yourself, and be willing to put in the hard work. If you really want to be good at something, if you really want to be successful, you can't do it halfway. You really have to put it all out there, and you have to really believe in yourself. And you have to make sacrifices. I mean, nowadays with social media, it makes everyone look like they're living this big party life. But honestly, the people that are succeeding are just focusing on their day-to-day and their goals and setting those goals. And I even, with my husband being a business coach, he helps me sit down and set those goals so that I don't lose sight of them as I'm doing this. And I think that's a really important aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Kari, what's the best way for listeners to be able to reach you and learn more about what you're doing at Right at Home? And
probably the best way is our website. So my website for my personal business is rightathome.net/West Palm Beach. There's a lot of great information on there. They're always welcome to call. Our phone number is on there, but it's 561-494-6511. Happy to answer any questions anyone has. I do provide even time to other interested candidates who are looking to start businesses in this industry, giving them some personal advice and suggestions and answering any questions they might have. So those are probably the two best ways.
Okay. Well, very good. We'll put links to those in the show notes below so listeners can easily contact you. Appreciate it. Well, Kari, would like to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show. Really enjoyed the conversation and wish you continued success.
Well, thank you so much. I will keep my head down, keep working hard, and keep focusing on those goals. So I hope the success comes.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it will. So Kari, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate your time. And we also like to thank Park Capital Partners that sponsors this show. And we want to remind everybody to please give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platforms so we can continue bringing more great content like Kari Janes on today's show. And also don't forget, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is a 501c3 fund open to accredited investors. And we also have created the Park Capital Partners Foundation, which is another way that Bill and I give back. When our investors invest with us, we'll make a donation to honor our investors to the charity of their choice from a list of 15. And that is a 506c nonprofit. So thanks again for joining today. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.